So sorry for sending out the message a little bit late today. I taught summer camp Monday through Friday, and my week is very much different when I work full time versus normal. It's a little bit different. How's everyone? Mez, I'm enjoying the videos you're sending Judy. The conservative twins are hilarious. Okay, so how many sons? Everyone knows who Israel is, right? Israel used to be named what? Jacob. How many sons does Israel have? How many sons does Israel have? Is it 9? 6? Yeah, how many? I think he had 12. The last one was Benjamin, and that was as Rachel was dying.
So that makes it 12.
I think, I thought it was 12, but now I don't know. I want to go back and count, but I'm pretty sure there's 12. Okay, there's 12. There's 12. Why is that significant? Why is it significant that there are 12? 12 tribes of Israel, yes. What about the New Testament? 12 disciples, 12 apostles, okay? That's very important, right? 12. And so it's interesting that Abraham only has Isaac, and then Sophia! So I almost said Sophia. So Abraham has Isaac. Isaac has who? Which sons? Which sons does Isaac have? Esau and Jacob. Right? So God promised Abraham that there would be many, many, many descendants. Okay? Just like the sands in the sea, the stars in the heaven. And so far for a long time, there was Isaac, and then there was Jacob and Esau. And Esau wasn't very good, right? Now we're starting to take off. Now we're starting to have a lot of children. 12. That's a lot, right? 12. And then those are going to be 12 tribes, right? Okay, so verse 1, we're doing chapter 37 through 39. Jacob was living in Canaan. Let's call Jacob Israel, because Moses keeps flip-flopping. Sometimes he calls Israel Jacob, sometimes he calls him Israel. Let's just call him Israel, because God has named him Israel at this point. Okay, Joseph is now 17 years old. So out of the 12 sons, everyone's favorite son is obviously Joseph, right? Everyone's normally, maybe Reuben, not Judah for sure, right? Okay, who was Joseph's mother? Who was Joseph's mother? Who was? Rachel, right? And she was the one that Israel really loved, right? She loved him more than Leah. And obviously, he loved her more than the two servant women, too, the concubines. So, in verse 2, Joseph brought a bad report of his brothers to his father. Okay? And then in verse 3, we read this. How about, Johan, do you want to read verse 3? Okay, what does that mean that Joseph was the son of Israel's old age? What does that mean? What does it mean that Joseph was the son of Israel's old age? Yeah. So if you go back to chapter 29 and 30, Joseph was the last one, right? It started off with Reuben, and then you had Judah, and you had all the other sons, and then it ended with Joseph, right? And so he was the oldest one, and that was Rebekah's first son, right? And so when in his old age, finally Rachel, his favorite wife, has a son in his old age. So Israel has a special place in his heart for Joseph. Okay. Now Benjamin was actually born later, but why? Why does Israel probably not like Benjamin as much?
Because his favorite wife was gone.
Yeah. So she died in childbirth to Benjamin. So unfortunately, Israel doesn't like Benjamin as much as Joseph. Okay. Now, we've all heard about the robe of many colors, right? We've all probably imagined what the robe of many colors looked like. For me, it's not very fashionable to have a robe of many colors, maybe 2 or 3 max, or else it's very, very, very tacky. The Hebrew word for this is actually not known. We don't know what the word is. Translators call it the robe of many colors. The New International Version translates it the ornate robe. And you have different Vulgate and Septuagint translations. Because the Hebrew word is unknown to us, we just think, well, maybe this is what it is. But it was clear that the robe was a nice gift, right? Okay. Verses 4 through 5. But when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than all his brothers, they hated him and could not speak peacefully to him. Now, hello. Hello, Mickey. Hello. They could not speak peacefully to him. Now Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him even more. Okay? Yes.
Would you like to introduce yourself first, or is there like 3 things you have to say, like their name or so every small group does the same thing.
Are you open to blood promises?
Blood promises? Wow.
We have there's a certain commitment that you have to make. Mickey, what did you bring me to? Okay, I'm just kidding. There's no blood. Hey, Ruby. Ruby, is that a new top? Is that a new top?
It's a colorful robe.
The coat of many colors. Or maybe Jackie has the dress of many colors. Johan always has a shirt of one color. You have lines. You have drawings.
Actually, I have blue things stuff, so it doesn't count.
Okay, so should we go around?
Yeah, what do we do that?
Okay, let's go back. So we are chapters 37 through 39, and we've just finished, and now we're going to be talking about Joseph's first dream. And so he has a dream, and then this is what it is. Okay.
So there's jealousy, right? Just now we were talking about Joseph receiving the special robe from his father.
There's a special robe, yes.
And no one else got it, and so all the brothers are so jealous at him, and they couldn't speak to him peacefully. They just angry, jealous.
All right. So Ivy, could you read, please?
He said to them, "Hear this dream that I had. Behold, we were lying shafts in the field, and behold, my shepherd rose and stood up one. And he
Okay, and so this is a sheaf right here. Okay, have you seen these before? So you normally you tie one around so that you bundle them together. And so this is a good example. One's standing up straight, the other ones are bowing down. Okay, so someone want to interpret the dream? Does someone interpret the dream?
Shoes stands for their brother,
Yes. So what are they doing?
bow down.
Right. Why would they be bowing down? Why would they be bowing down? Oh, we have a new person? Hey, hello. Hey, Alan. Well, why don't you come have a seat over here? Or sit over here? Maybe here would be better. Okay. What do you call you want? Alan. Hi, Alan. Sit next to Johan. We need more guys, brothers.
What do you like about Taiwan, Alan?
So Taiwan, I think like just living here and here is quite convenient to
Ah.
go almost everything.
Where are you from? Taiwan or
New Taipei City. I'm from
New Taipei City?
because
Cool.
my father is from Indonesia, my mother is Taiwanese.
Cool. My wife's family lives in New Taipei City. So cool. Okay, so we're going through chapters 37 through 39 in Genesis. So we're at 37 verse 8. So the brothers they interpret the dream correctly. They know exactly what does it mean. His brothers said to him, "Are you indeed to reign over us, or are you indeed to rule over us?" So they hated him even more for his dreams and for his words. So his brothers absolutely hate him at this point. They hate him because the father loved him. And then now you have this dream where the brothers are going to bow down like these sheaves in the field are going to bow down, okay? And then he has another dream. The next dream, Chiaki, could you read verse 9?
Then he dreamed another dream and called it to his brothers and said, "Behold, I have dreamed another dream. Behold, the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars were going down to me."
Okay, someone want to tell me about this dream? What do you think about the second dream?
The sun stands father, the moon stands mother, earth is mother.
So the moon's probably Leah, right? You think it's Leah? Because Rachel's dead.
Yeah.
So probably Leah.
Stands his father.
And it's,
Symbolize.
the big giveaway, I think, is 11 stars. I mean, that's because there are 12 brothers. And so even like 11 stars, so that means the other brothers, right? And so that's probably what it is. It's probably Israel, Leah, and the other 11 brothers bowing down to him, okay? And when he told that dream, the father knew immediately what it was, but he said, but when he told it to his father and to his brothers, his father rebuked him and said to him, "What is this dream that you have dreamed? Shall I and your mother and your brothers indeed come to bow ourselves to the ground before you?" So they get the dream right away, but they see it as a very arrogant dream. Even the father and the mother. Now we know that that's going to be true, but it's inconceivable that that would happen at this point. So out of Esau and Jacob, who received the special blessing? out of Esau and Jacob, who received the special blessing? Jacob. So Jacob, he goes and works for Laban, and then God blesses everything he does because he's got a special blessing. Now, who do you think out of the 12 brothers, who do you think is going to receive that blessing? Who do you think is going to receive that blessing? Judah, Reuben, who do you think? Joseph, right? Everyone's going to bow down, and he's the 11th brother to be born, right? So, Reuben, you would think it would be Reuben because Reuben was the first one.
Oh, isn't it Judah the first one?
No, it's Reuben.
Oh, is it the second?
Reuben's the first one. I don't know.
Oh, Reuben's the oldest. Okay, all right. God doesn't always go with an order, right?
No, God does not always go with order.
Esau's the older one too.
All right, verse 11. His brothers were jealous, but his father remembered what he said. And now, in verse 12, now his brothers went to pasture their flocks near Shechem. Where was Shechem again? Where's Shechem located? Where's Shechem? We talked about it last time. Shechem was where the rape happened, right? Shechem raped someone. Okay. Verses 13 through 14. Israel sends Joseph from the valley of Hebron to Shechem to check on his brothers. Verses 15 through 18, Joseph found them at Dothan. The brothers saw him from afar and conspired to kill him. So they hate him at this point, right? They hate him. They want him to die, right? They're trying to kill him. Yes. So how about Annabelle? Could you read verses 19 through 20?
They said to one another, Here comes this youth. Come now, let us kill him and throw him into one of the pits. Then we will say that we have the water, and we will see what will become of his place.
So they even have a name for him, right? The dreamer. Here comes the dreamer. Let's kill him. And they've got a plan to get away with it and everything, right? All right. So, which of the brothers rescue Joseph? Who rescues him? Which one of the brothers? Oldest one. Who is? Reuben. Reuben rescues him. Okay. Reuben was the first one born to Leah. The brothers stripped him of his robe and they threw him into a pit. As they were eating, they saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead. Is it Gilead or Gilad? Gilead? Gilead. That's probably right. Okay. Okay. Gilead. Okay. A caravan of Ishmaelites. Who was Ishmael again? Who was Ishmael? Son of. Who's the father? Abraham. Nice, Mez. Who's the mother? Hagar. Nice, Mez. Somebody's passing the test today. Okay. So then Judah, you're not going to like Judah after this. Then Judah convinced the other brothers to sell Joseph into slavery for 20 shekels of silver. And the caravan took Joseph to Egypt. Okay. So at this time, there's a slave economy, right? And that was, and some people find it very uncomfortable that the slavery is in the Bible, but there is slavery in the Bible, and there's slavery in the law of Moses as well, it was just the most primitive form of economics, and there's obviously different forms of slavery. There's more compassionate slavery, like if you follow the law of Moses, you would have a more of a compassionate form of slavery. And there's very horrible slavery, like the slavery that happened in the United States, and slavery that nations were judged for in the Old Testament, right? And you do need to be aware that that is something that happens in the Old Testament. Okay. So Reuben returned, and when he saw Joseph was not in the pit, he tore his clothes. So the brothers took Joseph's robe, the robe of many colors, and killed a goat and dipped the robe in the blood of the goat. They showed the robe to their father and said, "A fierce animal has devoured him, and Joseph is without doubt torn to pieces." So, wow. You read about Abraham and Isaac and Joseph and Israel, and sometimes they sound worse than people who are we paying attention, Mickey?
Illustration for the story from Sunday school.
Oh, really? Did you make those or did you find them? Oh, wow. Judy's the artist, so.
She's the artist right now.
Judy's the artist in our marriage, so yeah. So they make up this lie about Joseph, right? Verses 34 through 35, Israel tore his garments and put on sackcloth and mourned many days. The family tried to comfort him, but he said, "No, I shall go down to Sheol to my son mourning." And he continued to weep. So Israel loved Joseph very much, right? They tried to make him feel better, and it doesn't do anything. Where is Sheol? Where is Sheol? Where is Sheol?
Didn't they believe that was like a resting place, not really hell?
Yeah, well, it's just the place where you go when you die. This is the place you go where you die. So, that according to the Old Testament, you read it in the Psalms and you read it in other places. That's where you go when you die. It's kind of a place, and there could be a good Sheol and a bad Sheol, but basically that's where you go when you die. So he's saying, "I shall go down to Sheol mourning." So I will be sad going down to Sheol. Okay. Meanwhile, Joseph was sold to Potiphar, an Egyptian officer of Pharaoh, the captain of the guard. So what do you think about Joseph's situation? What do you think about Joseph's situation?
I really think that he deserved it. He is, look, if I were him, like if my parents favored me out of like,
You have to be humble, right?
I would be so low-key, low profile, and just, even if I had like 10 dreams, I would not say a thing. But he had no clue. He was just like, hey, I'm dreaming, everybody bows down to me. And like,
I don't think he deserved it, but yeah, I get like, what did you expect? You know?
like your sibling rivalry is real, and then if you,
Yeah.
like you know that you're your parents' favorite, and then you should just like be so
Humble.
like, invisible.
Right.
Your other siblings, but he is not.
Hey, you're all bowing down before me.
And even to the point that his father says, "Hey, you're not like rebuke him, right?" Yeah. Yeah, and then so yeah, what do you expect? Like you're the like if I had a sibling like that, like, of course I'll plan out to kill him or her. Yeah, too naive. And that's why I think like he had to go through that training in Egypt, like to make him. He learned his lesson. He became
Oh, of course.
really humble and
Yeah, and yeah, it's probably a sanctification process.
yeah. So
I think there's like that, I don't know where the verse has this, is it pride comes before the fall and
it follows before you get it.
Yeah.
and as you were talking, I was thinking of Mary, like when the angel appeared to her and said like, you, who's basically a nobody kind of girl,
Right.
And when you were talking, it made me think of how that was the opposite response of how he's behaving.
Yeah.
Instead of being humble about it.
And if you're given a coat of many colors, you don't wear it around your brothers, right? It's just like if you're going to go, kind of, you don't like. What do y'all think about this? Father bought it to me. Did he buy it for you? Oh, not for you, just for me. Oh yeah, that's right. Forget. Yeah, Ivy.
It's trying to save him, rescue him.
Right.
But he didn't. I mean, because
He left to go do something else, and he came back, and then he was sold.
he was a sale. He was a sold out.
I know Reuben didn't sell him into slavery. He left.
Didn't know.
No, he didn't know. So I don't know what happened to, how, if you have a family, I didn't have any brothers and sisters growing up, but apparently if you have a big family, anybody who has a big family, you can chime in on this. If there's 3 brothers, 4 brothers, the older brother or the oldest sister, whatever, is sort of in charge.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So that's what happens.
And I still have that power to this day.
Really?
Yes.
Nice.
On the other side of the world, they consult me for things, even my parents. But I'm low-key about it.
Judah suggested to sell Joseph, and then they sold him out, right? But
Yeah.
The Reuben didn't.
Well, I think it says that Reuben returned and he saw that Joseph was not in the pit anymore, and then he tore his clothes. So he's not aware of what happened. He rescued him the first time, and then Judah convinced the other brothers to sell him into slavery, and then so I think Reuben. So when they go back to meet the father, Reuben is responsible. Like the father's going to go to Reuben first and say, "What happened? You were born first. What happened to my favorite son?" And so Reuben's, whether or not he loved him or not, he's in charge. It's not really clear if they loved him or not. I mean, he could have had him killed, but
Reuben said this to rescue him from them and take him back to his father. That's his intention. And he didn't want to rescue him.
So where's verse 37 of this spot? You mean 27 or 37?
Sorry.
22.
22.
Yeah, I think Reuben is sort of like one of the best brothers who's trying to persecute Joseph, I think here.
Just like you said, it's always responsibility. But I just curious that Judah so but Reuben know that, or Reuben think it just died.
I think that Reuben had no idea because he was gone, and then Reuben came back, and the first thing he noticed was Joseph was no longer in the pit. And so they threw him in the pit before they sold him. So he saw that they were not in the pit anymore, and then he tore his clothes, right? He was very upset. So, no, was he? Are you sure about that? Where do you see that?
No, it says in 21 when Reuben heard of their scheme, he came to Joseph rescue.
Right. He's tried to rescue him at the beginning.
Oh, okay. So who initiated?
Sounds like
Judah
I don't know. This is they. This
They
is
said to one another. Oh, okay.
Anyway. Okay. So I think Reuben is one of the best characters here, trying to rescue Joseph. He's more responsible, but of course, they all.
Hoping that he would crawl out of the pit and save himself. Was he hoping that?
I don't know. I don't know. How do I know that? He left, and he thought when he came back, Joseph would still be in the pit.
I think he was alright because my translation says in verse 22, Reuben was secretly planning to rescue Joseph and return him to his father. I mean, depending on how the pit was, I don't think maybe he expected Joseph to get out. It was
Yeah.
kind of like, okay, I'll go along with this and I'll get him out. But then I wonder if you're an older brother and you have some authority, why would you need to secretly plan to rescue
He wants to get special.
Yeah, yeah.
You're the oldest, but I guess
Judah seems like the leader among the people who hate him, and then Reuben seems to be the leader of those who want to help him, and then obviously Judah's side is much stronger.
Judah's side had 10, and Reuben is on his own.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. It doesn't say. Yeah.
Only, yeah.
And so.
He's the oldest.
So let's move on to chapter 38, okay? Chapter 38. Judah, and so this chapter is just, we read about Judah in the last chapter, and now we read about how terrible of a person Judah is, and how bad of a leader he is. Judah visited an Adullamite. There he saw a Canaanite woman and took her and went into her. She was pregnant 3 times, once with and again with Onan, and again with Shelah. So Judah is not a great guy, right? He just sees a Canaanite, and remember, they're not supposed to marry Canaanites, right? There he saw a Canaanite woman, took her, and went into her, and so he married a Canaanite, and he should be marrying someone who is from Haran or something like that. Okay? So, Judah took a wife for the firstborn, but was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord put him to death. So, sadly, it does not give any more details. I'm as interested as you are to know, what did do to put him to death? But we do know more about Onan. Then Judah told Onan to take Er's wife. Judah told Onan to take Er's wife. Okay, so we know about this. Whenever there's a widow, it's the responsibility of the brother to take the wife. Okay, and this is the next slide. So we're going to be talking about this for a little bit. But Onan knew that, let me get someone else to read it. Joanna, could you read, please? Could you?
But Onan knew that the offering would not be his, so whenever he might get into his brother's wife, he would waste it, sitting on the ground so as not to be a offspring to his brother. And what he did was wicked in the sight of the Lord.
Okay, so, wow. God puts him to death.
Because it's wasting semen.
Well, I know we need to talk about that. We need to talk about that because actually, if you read the Old Testament, parents, if the child was very naughty, they were to keep the nation holy. If the child was really naughty, they put them to death. And so we see that now this is God's kingdom, and God has just put 2 of Judah's sons to death, right? What do you think happened here? Why do you think Onan was put to death? Why do you think, what was his sin that put him to death? And we might disagree here at the end here. Why do you think Onan was put to death? By the way, what does Onanism mean? Onanism. Onanism is an old word that means masturbation. So does everybody know the word masturbation? So that's an 18th century word for the word masturbation, onanism.
I'm thinking that because he's not taking good care of his sister-in-law by giving,
Yeah, that's a good point. An heir.
giving her,
Because
because for that, and that during that time, like for a woman to have like children is so especially
Very important.
so.
It's having a child at this time is kind of like Social Security. You get old, you can't work anymore. You have your parents help. Your children have to support you. Okay, and it doesn't say offsprings; it says offspring. So there's no heir. There's no heir to continue the brother. Who was the brother's name?
So
It was
they're
no
not
for heirs line.
really doing something
Right. Because so if the first child will be the heir, and then it will be the firstborn, and technically it will be heir's child, because it will be the heir of all of what heir's stuff will be his, and he will be the heir. And so it won't technically be his child, the first child. It will technically be heir. Heir will be heir's child. It will be heir's child. It will be heir's heir. It's hard to say. I will read this from John Calvin, because we've got a lot of time. This is what John Calvin said about this in his commentary, Volume 2. Okay. I will content myself with briefly mentioning this as far as the sense of shame allows to discuss it. It is a horrible thing to pour out seed besides the intercourse of man and woman, deliberately avoiding the intercourse so that the seed drops on the ground is double horrible. For this means that one quenches the hope of his family and kills the son, which could be expected before he is born. This wickedness is now as severely as it is possible condemned by the Spirit through Moses, that Onan, as it were through a violent and untimely birth, tore away the seed of his brother out the womb, and as cruel and shamefully has thrown on the earth. Moreover, he thus has, as much as was in the power, tried to destroy a part of the human race, when a woman in some way drives away the seed out the womb. Through AIDS, then this is rightly seen as an unforgivable crime. Onan was guilty of a similar crime by defiling the earth with his seed, so that Tamar would not receive a future inheritor. Okay, so Calvin, John Calvin, is very strong on the sense of what is his sin. Calvin says what? It's the sin was not having children. Now, I agree with Calvin, but now I will push back against Calvin. I'm not going to disagree with Calvin. Please don't run me out of the Presbyterian Church. I'm going to push back a little bit against Calvin. Leviticus chapter 15 talks about masturbation, and it says, Leviticus chapter 15, verses 16 through 17, if a man has an emission of semen, he shall bathe his whole body in water and be unclean until evening. And every garment and every skin on which the semen comes shall be washed with water and be unclean until the evening. So, according to the law, is this masturbation, onanism, is it a sin? Yes or no? Is it a sin? Yes, right? If you have to go through this washing process for a day. Now, it's not like murder. It's not something you would be put to death for, masturbation. But it is something that, according to the law, it is a sin. You have to go through a bathing process according to the law. Now, I'm not saying Christians have to go through this process. I'm just saying this is what the law said according to Moses. But
this is different because he did it deliberately to not help.
right, and now this is my opinion, and you don't have to take. I think what is going on here is, what did God promise Abraham? He promised him what? Lot of descendants. As many as the grains of sand on the beach, as many of the stars in the sky. Many descendants, and now you have someone wasting the semen. This is someone who does not want to have children. So I see that as like extreme rebellion. Like, God has promised a huge kingdom, and I have a wife, but I'm going to waste the semen on the ground. That I see that as extreme rebellion. Onan had to have known, even though his mother is a Canaanite, he had to have known that. The promises of Abraham, the promises of Isaac, the promises of Israel, that they're going to be a great kingdom. And that their children will become a huge godly kingdom. And so, in my opinion, it's the rebellion of, I'm not going to develop this kingdom, and then that's what's going on right now. God is creating this huge kingdom, and I would compare it a lot to Paul in the New Testament. Paul in the New Testament, when he was Saul, what was he doing? He was persecuting the church, right? He was the greatest enemy of the church, and so it's the beginning of the church. And so, what does God do? The greatest enemy of the church becomes the greatest friend of the church, right? And God changes his heart. God is sovereign. And so, and now you have Paul writing most of the New Testament. I don't know. What do you all think? I could be wrong. What do you all think?
It's active rebellion.
It-
That's the problem. Active rebellion.
Yeah.
Against God,
Okay.
basically.
Does anyone else want to?
I think it's very much the same as abortion.
Abortion?
Yeah, it's like Calvin said it, it's like murder. Right? So,
I would say it's like that because of selfishness. If it's not going to be his, like why would we want to take care of it
Yeah.
and all this, and then everything he will inherit would be from his older brother. So it's abortion. Most of the time, it's selfishness. It's like I don't want to have a child that I have to take care of alone. So
Yeah. All right. And then we're going to skip a lot of verses 11 through 30 because without getting into it, Judah is a very bad guy. And he accidentally, so the wife that was, he didn't want to, Er's wife, Onan's wife, the wife was named Tamar. And he didn't want Shelah, his last son, to marry Tamar because the first two died. So he was like, no, don't marry him because he doesn't want him to die too, right? Judah accidentally impregnates Tamar by accident. Does anybody remember the story? Why does he accidentally impregnate her? He thinks she's a prostitute, right? So Tamar is his daughter-in-law. Now this is a very serious sin. According to the law, this is punishable by death because the son became one with this woman. You became one with this woman. And so this is a very serious sin. He thought she was a prostitute. She gives birth to 2 children. Okay? One of these 2 children is in the genealogical line that leads to Jesus. Isn't that shocking? Jesus, part of Jesus' line is a line of incredible sin, right? Including a father who had a baby with his daughter-in-law to 2 of his sons. So that is part of the genealogical line leading to Jesus. When he hears that Tamar is pregnant, what is his first reaction? Who remembers? Who read? When he hears Tamar is pregnant, his first reaction is for her to be... How would be executed? Burn. Mez read ahead. Okay, I gotta give Mez a round of applause. Yes, burned. And that just shows not only his sinfulness, but his hypocrisy. Oh my gosh. And they found out later he slept with her. He thought he was a prostitute, right? Okay, so this is the last chapter, chapter 39, verses 1 through 7. Now Joseph had the same effect Israel had with Laban. So Joseph has a special blessing. Okay, you might not think it, but Joseph has a special blessing. So no matter what Joseph does, he's always prosperous because of the Lord. So Potiphar, the guy who owns Jacob at this point, made Joseph the overseer of his house and put him in charge of all that he had. Then Potiphar was always blessed because of Joseph. So Potiphar became like Laban, right? He loves Joseph because he just becomes very wealthy because of Joseph. Then Potiphar's wife began to seduce him. Okay. How about Sophia? Would you like to read? Can you read verses 8 through 9, chapter 39, 8 through 9?
But
Okay.
he refused and said to his master's wife, "Behold, because of me, my master has no concern about anything in the house, and he has put everything that he has in my charge. He is not greater in his house than I am, nor has he kept back anything from me except you, because you are his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God?"
All right. So Potiphar likes Joseph a lot, doesn't he?
Yes.
What is his? I mean, it doesn't really seem like a slave, does he? He sounds like manager, very exalted position. Basically, everything. Potiphar puts him in charge of everything, and so. He says, he is not greater in this house than I am. So Potiphar is so, exalts him so much that it's almost as if they're equal, right? He treats him so kindly that they're almost equal. Nor has he kept me back anything except for you. So it's kind of like the forbidden fruit, right? There's only one thing that Joseph doesn't have, and that's what? The wife, right? How can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? Okay. She tried to tempt him day after day. One day she caught him by his garment. He left his garment in her hand and fled her. Okay. So if you want to know how to deal with lusts, this is how to do it. This is how you're supposed to do it. So even if someone's trying to tempt you, if they capture you by the robe, you've got to flee, leave the road and flee, run away from lust, right? Okay, how about Judy? Do you want to read verse 14 through 15?
She called to the men of her household and said to them, "See, he has brought among us a Hebrew to laugh at us. He came into me to lie with me, and I cried out with a loud voice. And as soon as he heard that I lifted up my voice and cried out, he left his garment beside me and fled, and got out of the house."
All right, crying out is important detail, right? Why is crying out important?
Like he doesn't really like it.
She doesn't really like it, right?
She doesn't.
So if at that time, if a man tries to seduce you and you don't cry out, what does that mean?
I don't give consent.
No, if you don't cry out, that means you give consent. I give consent, right? So if you don't give consent, you do what? Help me, right? You have to do that. If you're a woman at that time and you're caught in bed with another man and you didn't cry out, you're guilty, right? You're guilty.
If you are in the city.
If you're in a city. If you're out in the forest without anyone, then you're innocent. You're innocent no matter what, right? Because it doesn't matter. What is her reaction? What is her reaction? So this is not a very godly woman, right? This is a pagan. She just whatever reason. And it does say Joseph is very handsome, very good looking. So I think she really is attracted to him. And now that he's basically said, no way. Now, what is her reaction? What is her reaction now?
There's a phrase in Chinese called 恼羞成怒, right? How do you say
It
that?
means like you're embarrassed to the point that you got angry.
You're embarrassed and then you got angry.
Because you're embarrassed.
Because you're embarrassed to the point.
Like where I can only use anger to cover up your embarrassment.
Yes, that's right.
So she's angry because why?
She was embarrassed first.
Yeah, slave, right? Yeah. Yeah. She's probably used to getting what she wants, right? So,
And also being rejected after, she had advanced her move, got rejected is kind of embarrassing. And and she doesn't get what she wants, so she has to blame the other person. Shouldn't
All right.
blame it. Shouldn't blame it.
yeah, maybe that's what's maybe that's what's happening.
Or what if also she thinks maybe in him running away he'll tell?
Yeah, he'll tell.
And she knows like my husband. Really
And so she might think,
this will be a problem.
she might think, yeah, that's what I was thinking. See, I need women to help me with this because men and women, we do think differently. Men and women do think differently. This is what Bez is thinking the way I was thinking. I was thinking, she's thinking he ran away naked and he's going to have to explain things. And then he's going to say, I'm sorry, but this is what happened. And she's running to get ahead of it and saying, actually, this is what happened. He's just,
I think there's a good chance the husband will believe him. And
right.
That's
Potiphar really likes and really likes Joseph. So if he says that, then she might be in trouble. And then she might be executed, right? Because or she might be thrown in prison, right?
Oh, yeah. So maybe she's also afraid of being caught.
That's what I was thinking, but I did want women to kind of chime in because I need to.
Well, there's so many layers of emotions. It could be anything, right?
Ladies, I have emotions too. Sometimes I feel. Sometimes I feel happy. Sometimes I feel sad.
That's just simple. It's gotta be there. It's like one thing.
Judy says something, and I go, and then she says something else, and,
I think every the man and woman the same. It's just after you be rejected, and then so you become it.
Oh, yeah.
So you should put class emotion, healthy, spiritual. It's something deep inside. I think the man and woman the same. You be rejected, you love someone, you become hate someone.
Oh, remember the lady
The thing is
who got raped by Absalom?
Yeah.
No, Absalom's sister.
Yeah.
That was
Yes,
David's daughter.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
weird.
She got raped by someone who was
In love with
in
her.
love with her.
And then
But then maybe she didn't enjoy it.
I think he became hated
Her?
her.
He hated her.
Yeah. So I think that men and women, the emotion behind is everything. Hate, jealousy, and love.
That's interesting. So you got jealous, so then you hated them.
maybe we don't. Yeah, those are good. I'll let the women give the final analysis on this one. Okay, verses 16 through 20. We'll try to end with a little bit of time to pray and to have accountability. Verses 16 through 20. Then she told Potiphar when he came home. Potiphar was obviously very furious, and he threw Joseph into a prison that housed the king's prisoners. So there is a prison just for the king, just for the Pharaoh. And they threw Joseph into that prison. Okay. In verse 21, even in prison, the Lord blessed Joseph. The keeper of the prison showed favor to Joseph. Joseph became in charge of all the prisoners. The Lord blessed Joseph, and everything he did in prison became successful. Basically, the same thing Potiphar did with Joseph, the keeper of the prison did the same thing with Joseph. So basically, Joseph ran the prison. Just like he ran the Potiphar's house, he ran the prison. He became kind of like the keeper of the prison. He basically did everything. And everything was prosperous because of his blessing. Now, it's hard to imagine that Joseph has the blessing, right? This is so much worse than Israel, right? Israel was tricked by Laban and everything, but this is terrible. I mean, it's hard to imagine Joseph beaten up by his brothers, taking his coat, sold into slavery, and now he's in prison for something he did not do. And it's hard to say, well, he's got God's special blessing, right? But he does have God's special blessing because everything he does is prosperous, right? Yeah.
people around them. Love it.
Okay, so, and then we're going to end with this. Does anybody know what this is? Does anybody know? Huh? It's Egyptian, that's right. It's Egyptian.
This is the museum in London.
Oh, I don't know which museum it is. I don't know. This is the Merneptah Stele. Merneptah Stele. And as Ivy said, yes, it is Egyptian. And I want to talk about it because it mentions Canaan. Okay, it mentions Canaan. It says, and let me give you the quote, "The princes are prostrate, saying peace. No one is raising his sin among the 9 bows. Now that Dahanu, or Libya, has come to ruin, Haiti is pacified, Canaan has been plundered into every sort of woe. Ashkelon has been overcome, Gezer has been captured, Yanaham is made non-existent." And the next people it mentioned is, who wants to guess? Who wants to guess? It just mentioned Canaan. Who is it gonna mention next? Kind of, Israel. Next it mentions Israel. Israel is laid waste and his seed is not. Okay? So what is the significance of an Egyptian stele containing both Canaan and Israel? What is the significance? And now scholars are not 100% certain that it's saying Israel, but the majority of scholars do say it is talking about Israel. So what is the significance?
Well, would it point to the fact that they did exist?
Yeah, it mentions that this is Egypt and they're in contact with both Israel and Canaan. Okay?
Egypt, right?
Yeah.
The whole family moved to Egypt.
And some scholars say that Egypt didn't have much of a connection with Israel, but this is evidence that they're all kind of coexisting at the same time, okay? So there's a lot of evidence. Of course, it's going to be very hard to find evidence exactly, talking about what happened with Joseph and the Potiphar's wife and all this stuff. That's, if you're you don't have that harsh of a skepticism, but it's important because it's non-biblical source that mentions both Israel and Canaanite, and it's from Egypt. So it does sort of confirm the Bible. Not everything in the Bible, but it does confirm that these 3 nations were all coexisting. Yes, Miss?
Just a quick question. Do you ever wonder if Potiphar suspected that Joseph might have been innocent, but maybe to save face or something, he had to side with her? Because I've thought about that before. If he's trusted this guy,
Yeah.
he has God's favor, like maybe in the back of his mind, he kind of wondered, maybe she is that kind of person, like it's my wife. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I wonder.
if you
But
have-
he didn't do anything about it.
If you have a wife for many years, you probably know a lot about her, hopefully. Some husbands, maybe they're not so much. They have the same wife for many years and they don't know, they only scratch the surface. But yeah, probably she has a pattern. Maybe she's a drama queen and she has a pattern of this. But it's very humiliating for a husband, for their wife to seek romantically outside of the marriage. It's I think the term is cuckold, right? And so if a woman is romantic outside of the marriage, the idea is, are you not enough for me? And so it could be that it's a reputation thing as well.
Naivety references in verse 19, he burned with anger. So when the wife told him what happened, it's like fabricated, of course. Potiphar burned with anger. So he was angry.
So I think Sophia's got the point. I think that she really believed him. But someone can tell you something, and then you could be furious, but when you're angry, you don't really think things clearly for a few days, and then you meditate and you meditate and you meditate, and what was said, what was done, what was their facial reaction, and many days, and then you come to a conclusion, And I think, the way I think, you can have, remember Sherlock Holmes, deductive reasoning? You take what are the possibilities, and then,
So you think he's not smart?
When he says that in verb of anchor, it doesn't really say what he was saying very well. It could have been with his wife.
Yeah.
He said as opposed to with the other one.
yeah,
Because Jacob referred to the king's prison as opposed to it. I thought you had the option to also send him to other places.
yeah, he didn't kill him, right? He didn't kill him. So maybe that was, if he absolutely 100%,
Way of trying to help. Because he could have killed him. That's his
Right.
property, right?
that's his property, right? Yeah. So maybe he didn't 100%. Maybe his wife says this, his servant says this, and then he says, "This is what I'll do. We'll do this to see, And then of course, he is vindicated at the end, of course. But that's later on. How about it's time for prayer and accountability? Does anyone else have anything else to say? Any questions? All right.